All right, I'm Ben Snyder. This is the Ben Snyder Sports Show. We're here in August of 2026. We have a super special guest with us today, former Division I athlete, now an author, storyteller, speed trainer, and so much more, especially, obviously an entrepreneur as well. We have Nisan Trotter. Nisan, how are you today?
Oh, I'm fantastic. If I was any better, I'd be twins. I'm feeling good.
And just for those who don't know, just tell us a little more about yourself than those 4 traits I just gave you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I love Jesus. I'm a Christian and believe without my faith and without the Lord on my side, I'd be absolutely nothing and nowhere near where I am right now. I am married to a beautiful Puerto Rican queen named Jarelis. I have 3 rambunctious boys who are extremely busy. Love them. They love hard. They fight hard, but we are still managing to coexist together, especially with the competitive nature that we all have. And then also, too, I played sports at Bucknell, former D1 athlete, as you alluded to, played the wide receiver position, wide receiver 1, and also work at Bucknell now as a philanthropic engagement manager of Principal Gifts. It's a long title for working in university advancement. But in addition to that, speaker, author, and my passion now going on well over a decade into our 15th year this August is TrotFitness and being a fitness entrepreneur, speed coach extraordinaire.
Yeah, tell us a little about TrotFitness, maybe where that got started and, what made you want to do this.
Yeah, that story is pretty cool and interesting to tell. My wife purchased about $500 of personal training material unbeknownst to me. I had no idea. And she knew that I needed to become a personal trainer. And boy, was she right. I seen her being labeled the Zumba queen in the area. And because she had this massive following, I was sort of like the classic earbuds in the ear type of dude that goes to the gym and lifts heavy weight. My experience was nowhere near like hers. But at some point when she purchased personal training material, I ended up taking her email list, her client email list, and sharing that I got certified as a personal trainer. We started in the public park, Huffnagel Park, and 2 clients became like 10. 10 clients became 50 people, believe it, at one time in the public park, until we started expanding into a studio, then multiple studios, and now multiple thousands of clients, believe it or not, over the span of 15 years.
So would you say that your wife has been your passion and the one that's kept you going and, started this idea?
Oh, yeah, totally. I always joke around and tell people that I'm really just a talent. I really just work here, but my wife is the brains behind the operation. If it was up to me, I'd probably be collecting fees in like a baseball cap or something like that, but she's totally automated everything that we do. She brands us and makes me look a whole lot better than what I actually am, for sure.
And speed is your thing. Tell us, why is speed so important, not only for athletes, but how has it played a big role in your life?
Oh, man. Well, contrary to popular belief, didn't feel like I was the fastest initially. But I realized as an athlete that speed separates the average from the elite. Speed changes games. And when we look on a highlight tape or on film, one of the number one things that sticks out to us as athletes when we see something spectacular is, look how fast that dude was or that gal was. So I started to really take an interest in speed just from the awesome coaches that I had, collegiate coaches that I had at Bucknell University. I started to suck it up like a sponge because I wanted to get better and improve personally myself, and my speed did improve over time, and I became a better athlete, a more confident athlete. When you see somebody who's fast, regardless of the sport of play, whether they're a soccer athlete and they're trying to win a 50-50 ball, whether they're a track athlete and this is that last 50 meters, whether they're a star wide receiver and they're separating from the defensive back, when you have speed and you step on the field and you know that you're faster than your competitors, it just lends itself to you feeling like you can dominate at any point in the game. And I love having that advantage as an athlete and giving my clients now at this point, living vicariously through them, give them that advantage as well.
Something you talk about a lot is that speed is not always something you're born with. It's rather something that you have to develop. So tell us how you really built yourself off of that trait and how you've coached people in that.
Absolutely. I just think that it's a myth that needs to be debunked. You look at athletes like Usain Bolt, you know what I mean? And you're thinking to yourself, Sha'Carri Richardson, whoever the fastest people on the planet are, and you're thinking to yourself, how in the world did that happen? How is a person moving that fast? Upwards of 22 miles an hour, etc. Travis Hunter, star wide receiver and defensive back for the Jaguars, just clocked in at around 22.6 on the field, you know, and he isn't necessarily considered a track athlete. So there are some people who it is genetics. Right. I'll be frank with you, but the myth is that because it's genetics, I am not fast and I cannot get faster. That needs to be debunked. There's a whole lot of things that you can do from a mechanics perspective to gain speed, your arm swing, your knee drive, how you lean, even the relaxation that you have. All of these things play a role into an individual getting faster. And it's not just started at birth, but it should be developed over time with the proper training and the proper coaching.
And as you talk about development, maybe not something you're born with, some have it in their genetics. What age do you think it's important for people to begin doing speed work?
Oh my gosh, my youngest client right now is probably around 6 years old.
Wow.
Believe it or not. And she's a female and she's a young go-getter. And she keeps up with the best of them because some of these things you can course correct early on. That's the value of a coach, is that they can see things that the client is missing. And so even at this young, tender age of 6 years of age, this client is going to have an advantage over those who are just starting, especially when she's 2 and 3 and 4 years down the line. So I started, in fact, with my boys. I mean, this wasn't necessarily a strategic business move of Trot Fitness. I just knew that I wanted my boys to have an advantage on the field. So I just started coaching them on my own. And then people started to ask me, you know, can you train my kids? And then I started to work with other folks' kids as well, because they started to see when my boys are scoring touchdowns, they're separating from the competition. I mean, their legs are moving like you know, Speedy Gonzalez or something like that. And so, yeah, the earlier, the sooner, the better.
Yeah, it's very important to develop that. If we take a look at, you know, a sport like track and field, obviously for you, football was your primary sport. How important do you think it could be to, you know, participate in a sport where there's events and there's a chance to be with your peers at a younger age in development, like track, that can help enhance speed? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think that it's vitally important to compete and see how your skills and the coaching that you've received, the training that you've been under, how it translates underneath the lights or when everybody is watching. Because one of the biggest mistakes that I see folks make when they're trying to run fast is they tense up. They tense up and that lactic acid builds up in their body and it slows them down. But if you can get underneath the lights, get where folks are watching you, and let your training, let your discipline and consistency rule the day when you're competing against others, and you learn how to do it from a relaxed state, that's when you'll find athletes are performing at their optimal level. Their jaws aren't clenched, their fists aren't tight. They're just free flowing because they've let the practice and the preparation get them prepared, get them ready to compete in their sport, in their games.
Based on what you're saying, let's talk technique. You talk about the fist clenching, but there's another aspect to it as well with the weightlifting. Where do you think practicing technique and weightlifting can go hand in hand to getting faster? Yeah,
I mean, building strength is power. If you look at some of the world-class sprinters that we revere and we respect and we see on TV, they have boulder shoulders. I mean, they are jacked. They are ripped. You know, but it's more than just about strength. Really, it's what's called GRF, ground reaction force. How quickly can your body respond and adapt and apply force when you're moving linearly? And so a big element of that strength is applied strength, knowing how to put it in the right places to exert the right force and energy to get you moving fast and linearly down the line.
And you being a fitness trainer, for a young child looking to get into speed training and looking to get faster, why would you recommend someone like yourself over just your casual looking up on YouTube, etc.?
Well, you know, I'm biased, of course.
Yes, but
I'm definitely
nonetheless.
biased. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at an individual with 15 years now of experience, and this doesn't also factor in of being in the trenches, hailing from the deep south of Alabama, where they just breed athletes, if I'm to say so myself, Roll Tide. But I will say that the fact that I've competed at a high level, a level that a number of individuals aspire to. And it's more than just even the mechanics and what an individual knows. I believe what also sets me apart, I've earned this name among the sainted in the fitness industry as a fitness preacher. My motivation, my inspiration to push clients beyond where they think they can go is what also is worth its weight in gold. For people who are trying to do it on their own, it's far more than just setting up cones and
Right.
doing random drills. You know, there's ballistic training, there's type 2 muscle fiber training, there's types of training where can we get you and develop your speed more so on the back half of your sprints than even the front half, or your first 3-4 steps, how does that look? All these things play a role, and that's what I bring to the table as a coach for sure.
And more than what you've said already, what do you think makes Trot Fitness more special and more different? Why should athletes choose you maybe over a different trainer? What's special about what you do?
Well, what's special is the relationships and being a relationship builder, really, truthfully, is I'm a connector. I'm far more interested in building the character than I am the speed. I gotta repeat that. That sounded good. Wow. I'm far I'm far more interested in the character of the individual than the speed, because at some point speed vanishes. You know, there are times where I want to race my clients still to this day. And, you know, I'm not going to share my age, but I will say that I am not as fast as I used to be, suffice to say. So when the speed fades, when no one's no longer calling your name from the stands because you made a great play, or you're not in the lineup anymore and people aren't congregating to see you perform, who are you then? And so me developing in tandem, not just the skill set and improving athletes with their sport, but also making sure that they have upstanding character. That hands down is, I feel, what separates me from another of other coaches. I truly care about clients and I want to build relationships with them so that when I show up at their games, they know that in addition to how they're performing, is who they are as they perform.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, man.
You have a lot of great advice. So let's look back at your high school days, your college days.
Uh-oh.
Is there anything
go.
is there anything that you have learned,
Yeah.
a really important piece of advice that may have stuck with you that you still use to this day and you still preach beyond what you've already mentioned?
Wow, there's a number of things. I mean, let me count the ways in terms of what I learned. One of the things that shocked and awed me to begin was, and this is an award that I won my freshman year at Bucknell, and it's not the most fancy of awards. I was the Scout Team Player of the Year. And so, which is a glorified way of saying, at least that first year, that you did a great job of preparing the starters. You weren't necessarily good enough to get on the field, but we acknowledge how well you are at supporting those in front of you. But then what eventually began to happen, because of the reps I took against star athletes from all over the country, Reed Tunison, Anthony Lewis, Mark Tallman, these are some of Bucknell's finest at the time that I competed. These individuals got me better through scout team reps. And then when my time came to shine, boy, did I shine. I mean, I led the Patriot League in yards per catch. I was number one receiver there. I led our team in receiving yards. And I also was top 10, number 8 receiver in all of the Patriot League as well for the work that I did in helping us win. So putting others before yourself is a lesson that I've always learned. And just be in support and play a role in being a great follower before your opportunity comes to lead.
And in your opinion, what separates a good athlete from an elite athlete? It can go beyond speed and go beyond character. It can be in any sport. What do you think separates that average level athlete to that elite?
It's the passion and the enthusiasm they have to do the same thing over and over again without losing energy for it. You know, that is the challenge, is deliberate practice, not just showing up, but being fully present when you're there and having enough wherewithal, gumption, stick-to-itiveness, whatever you want to call it, to put your absolute best in that rep, best in that practice. There's this notion of punching the clock, and sure, that there's some merit to that. But when you show up, can you really ask yourself, am I giving it my all while I'm here? Am I making myself better? Am I making those around me better? Do I have the same level of enthusiasm and passion when I first started? Now that I'm several reps in, that's what I truly believe separates the good from great, the gifted from those who are just average.
Yeah, and tell us, how long has Trot Fitness been around? How long have you been training these athletes?
Well, so I've been training athletes, speedy athletes for a while. It dates back again to my kids. And so if you start with my kids, my oldest is now 12 years old. And so probably when he was around 5 or 6, I had him doing ladder drills. And so then I began to notice, I really like what I'm seeing, and I know this is helping him. So I started to invest in different programs to increase my knowledge and harken back to the days of the stuff that I learned as a collegiate athlete. But in addition to that, it's also everything that I learned outside of the speed coaching realm from a personal training perspective, group training model that we've had now, again, going on 15 years, or this month is 15 years at Trot Fitness.
And from the athletes that you have trained, what results have you noticed as far as what they've chosen to do with their speed or after high school? What are some major athletes? You can name some.
Okay, you want me to name drop?
You certainly can. We want to hear. We want to hear the results these people have found.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest results, especially for those that I've trained at the youngest level, is to those who are now in college and competing at a very high level. I've trained the Jeremiah Davises of the world, who is, I think he's number 2 rusher all time, Lewisburg. I've trained Ryan Opperman, who's at Wilkes now, Nick Coleman, who just signed with King's College, Nazir Meredith, and a number of other individuals as well. I mean, and now I'm going to get in trouble for those that I don't mention, of course, as well.
What?
But Ryan Golden Luthi, who's won a soccer championship last year. These guys work with me privately, and they know what I'm all about, and I know them as well. But beyond just those who are either in college or won championships, it's also those athletes who no one knows anything about, but is showing up with that dream and that desire to be great and to be better. Those individuals too, and the countless, what I feel, athletes. So we won the Super Bowl last year for the Heartland Youth Football League.
Yep.
So I don't want to.
Starts young.
Yeah, I don't want to discount those athletes. There's some bad boys around that 9 to 10-year-old age right here in Lewisburg. We upset the apple cart. We took out Southern the first round of the playoffs, then beat Schick, and then we finished Williamsport. Shout out to those teams, those athletes who did a fantastic job. But we were grateful that we were able to hoist the hardware over our heads. And the individuals on that team, fast individuals. You got Johnny Griffin, my son Osias, Trip Jameson, and the list goes on and on. So lots of stellar athletes that I've had the privilege to be around and coach.
And talk about what we're doing here, the Trot Fitness Speed Advantage Series. Pardon me. What made you eager to do this? Why do you think this is important to have, conversations like this?
Yeah, because I feel that my kids have had the advantage to a degree. Onesimus, Osias, Marist, I love those boys. And there are times where they may not want to train with me, but then there are times where they're eating it up because it's fun too. The Speed Advantage, this series, I wanted to just start to course correct certain things that I've noticed that athletes or those that are just starting off novice do, and then it becomes a habit. My kids are notorious for pointing out when I'm looking at a runner down the road as I'm driving down the road, wishing that I can help them, right? So I want to be able to work with you, and I'm thankful for this partnership, Ben, to be able to share some powerful fundamentals to get people started with helping them to be faster, helping them feel more confident. So I'm going to launch a number of video series with you in collaboration with you so that we can address speed, because our motto here at Trot Fitness is speed conquers.
And as we get closer to wrapping up, I know you said the first time you've brought it up, when you're in the car, you may see someone out the window, you want to fix what's going on. What are some common mistakes that people are making that they may not realize that they're making?
Well, how their arm swings are, and that they're more so going lateral when the objective is to move forward. So an exaggerated arm swing is taking them away from their goal and their purpose. How do we correct that? Again, like I mentioned earlier, trying too hard when you're trying to run fast. So I don't see relaxation. I don't see proper lean. There's even how you kind of tuck your chin and be at that 45-degree angle. Also, running in a squatted position, limiting your knee drive. All of these things are fixable, but they need to be addressed. And sometimes people just aren't aware of them until they're pointed out.
And to wrap up, how can parents find you? How can they figure out, like, this is the guy we want to go to? Where can they reach out to you and be like, we want to set something up with our child?
Yeah, in all humility, I feel I am the guy that they want to work with for sure. And I appreciate you asking this question. I mean, you can go to www.trotfitness.com, go to the contacts section, and just find my information there. I'm always on Instagram at NISAN RPM. That's revolutions per minute. Fits perfectly with listen, my name is Nisan and my handle is Nisan NISAN RPM. You can find me on Instagram there or at TrotFitness as well. YouTube, Facebook. I'm all over the social medias, and don't hesitate to reach out. You can even call me personally or shoot me a text at 570-412-9074. I'd be happy to work with anybody.
Yeah, you guys heard it here first on the Ben Snyder Sports Show here in August 2026. Quite a remarkable man we have here in Nisan Trotter. Again,
Likewise, Ben. You're a remarkable guy too. I got to say that.
Former Division I athlete, entrepreneur, a storyteller, a guy who can get you faster. I mean, a man of so many trades. It's something rare in today's day and age, but to have a guy like this in this area, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, that can change lives, not only with speed, but as he said, with character. Super great to have him on here, and you guys can expect plenty more to come from us in the coming weeks and the coming months. Super excited about what we have going here in Nisan, and looking forward to getting some good response and getting you some more clients and, really showing the district and beyond what we're all about.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ben. And if I could end with this, I always share with those that follow me is that you have a supernatural gifting in you to accelerate and excel. And when it comes to speed, speed is not only a gift, speed conquers. Hands up like a champ. Yeah.